Hello, hello. This is Peter Palmiotti of Art Studio, and welcome to the show. Today with me, got Ryan Cummins. Welcome, welcome.
How's it going?
Going good. So, we're gonna give this a shot. I got the Rumble Kings Kickstarter set up. See if I could share out the screen. Let's see. It should be. All right. Should be seeing it, right?
Yep, looks good to me.
And okay, good. So yeah, as we're looking at this, tell people about the campaign, and you got 19 days left. Your percentage there. I don't know what the percentage is, but you're almost there, like at least 2/3.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 70%, 71%. Yep. So,
Yeah.
let's see here.
This is for the first three issues of your project.
Yep. It's the first story arc of the project. So this one wraps up our volume 1 issue, or our story arc. So
Okay.
now is the perfect time for anybody to jump on. You'll get the first 3 issues of the Kickstarter. We take a little bit of a break to put the trade together so there most likely won't be a Rumble Kings 4 next year. If we do, it'll be late next year. So this is a good chance to get all 3 issues and some of the great stretch goals and add-ons we have, rewards and add-ons we have to get you primed for issue 4 next fall, hopefully.
You got to stay on your variant cover. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
All right. So yeah, you can all check it out. I put the link into the YouTube chat box. It's also below the video in the video description box. You can go and head over there and check it out. These are sample pages for issue 3 with your artist and colorist. Look very, very slick.
Yep. Yeah, the art for this issue just is killer. Like we're very excited for this issue.
Yeah, you got the different levels and what you get. Retail option. I'm sure that comes in handy.
Oh yeah.
So you've done this a while. Like, what's been your experience with your earlier Kickstarters?
Not being prepared. Not being prepared, basically.
Yeah.
I stumbled upon Kickstarter a few years ago. I'm a huge Ben Templesmith fan, just over the moon for the guy. And he did a project, an H.P. Lovecraft project. And I found it on Kickstarter, and I was like, I backed it. And I'm like, man, this is really cool. I like the way Kickstarter works. I like the way it is a direct link between the creator and the fans, so to speak. And when I decided that I was going to go ahead and make a run at doing my own book, finally, Kickstarter just seemed like the best option, and it's a great way for people who, for indie creators who may not have all the funding to produce a full project right away, to get that funding and get the book out and to build up a larger fan base. But going in, I just had no idea. I just kind of copied a few things from creators that I'd backed and supported earlier, and the very first campaign was great. It blew me away by the amount of support I got. But quickly going into the second one, the biggest thing I understood was there's no let up. You can't let off the gas. You got to keep pushing it. I kind of sat back and looked at, see, how many did we have? We had 132 backers, and we doubled our funding goal. And I was like, oh, sweet. Those people are going to come back for issue 2. And I was sadly mistaken. I want to say we were like 20 something backers short. I didn't understand that you have to keep it pushing. You have to keep promoting. You have to be prepared to hit Kickstarter. It's not something you just randomly do. The other big thing that I learned from running Kickstarter campaigns is the mental and physical stress it takes on you. It's a nightmare for many creators that I know, especially when you get into that mid-campaign lull where there's nothing going on and you start questioning everything about yourself as a human being and as a creator. That's kind of what I'm fighting through right now. Like, oh my gosh, people hate the project. I'm not going to fund, and just going through the range of emotions. So.
Yeah, it's like I've been a part of a bunch of campaigns, and I did my first crowdfunder last year, which I'm gonna follow it up. Like I did Kickstarter, I'm gonna follow it up with an Indiegogo to further finance the project, which is basically what I'm working on, Retro.
Nice.
And I'm already thinking, like, whenever I get around to working on issue 2. That's my worry. It's like, issue 1 is like you're new and you're getting your feet wet and all your friends come out to support you. But it's like issue 2, it's like, he did so good last time. He's got it, it's like,
yep. And the other thing I learned was when I sat down and wrote this story, I made the number one mistake that newer creators and writers are told not to make. You're told when you begin writing, come out the gate, do something small. Don't have your first project be your giant magnum opus. And I plotted, I think, 18 issues for this first storyline, and I quickly learned, okay, I gotta shut that down. So we cut that way down. Kickstarter, crowdfunding, indie comics in general. Unless you're one of the select few who blow up and get that hardcore fan base that are going to come back for every issue, and unless you can push that project hard every single day, a lot of fans aren't going to come back for issues after 2, 3, or 4. And that's something I'm really learning right now is smaller projects. I have another project set to come out next year. The reason we're taking a break from Rumble Kings is to put that project out. It's only 2 issues. We may even fold it together and do it as a trade, just a small issue. But things like that seem to be more successful. Just whatever's new. Your new project, like you said, is going to grab more people. So hopefully that little experiment works out for us next year.
Yeah. Because it's a weird kind of thing. It's like, in the old days, you put out a book more often than not. It was an ongoing series, but you're working, with publishers and it was expected. It's like now it's like things are crowdfunded and like some books, say they're going to do 20 issues and the first one comes out and then you never see them again. So it's really like the fans trusting you to continue and because it's all random, like they can't, even if they know in advance, they can't really like budget their money. It's like I know I pledged to plenty, and it's like there's a couple I would love to pledge to right now, but it's like I just don't have the money for it. So I'll have to get them on the flip side. But so it's about, each time you go, I guess you got to really push towards new fans as well as just reconnecting with old. Hey, if you're still interested, I got issue 2 coming out, and blah blah blah.
Yep. That's the pocket that I'm in right now, is building up that fan base and getting those new fans and bringing them in. Because even Kickstarter is just a small percentage of your supporters to begin with. I mean, each of my Kickstarters have been around 100 backers. I think the most we had was 132 backers. I couldn't believe how many people would show up after the campaign was ending and private message me, hey, how can I get the book? I don't want to mess with Kickstarter. Can I just buy it straight from you? My web store has been moving like crazy. I have steady purchases on Comixology. So a lot of people who look at Kickstarter and be like, oh, I only got like 100, 150 fans. That's not true at all. You only have, say, 150 Kickstarter backers. There's still plenty of other markets out there. I mean, when we were doing conventions last year and in stores, we were selling like crazy. So your fans are out there. You just have to get to them. And that's a big part of why we did the retailer option this time around. After our campaigns last year, or was it the last 2 campaigns I was a part of, we were getting a lot of retailers and comic book stores saying, hey, I want to purchase these. I don't want to go through Kickstarter. So I was still getting a lot of books sent out to comic book stores. Like I just sent out a package a few weeks ago. But you can't get caught up on the numbers for Kickstarter. And that was another mistake I made early on, was, oh my God, only 100 people like my stuff. And that's not true at all. So Kickstarter is just a tool to get you where you need to go,
Yeah. I know that's true for a lot of creators I've spoken with and just, observe over the course of the years I've been making comics and whatnot. And, you definitely like, if you're one of those that do conventions and pimp your book out there and, you build up a following there that, like sometimes things don't connect. Like sometimes the people you meet in person are like, support you in person and never see you online.
Yeah. Yep. That's a big one too. I've seen, I want to say, I forget his name and I feel bad about this. I hope he's not watching. There's a guy I met at, I'm from West Michigan, and I saw a guy at 2 different comic book in stores and then at a convention in Northern Michigan. And don't know him from Facebook or Twitter or anything. He's not a Kickstarter backer. He just happened to see me at a store, was like, your stuff's great, bought everything I had. The next time we went around for issue 2, he was back again. And then, when we did the convention, was that last spring, he was there as well. And I was just like, how do you keep finding me? Like, if we're not online friends, but he knows me from the website. He gets my newsletter, and that's how he found me. And I was like, man, there really are supporters from just everywhere. And it blew my mind. It's very humbling. I loved it, but it just blew my mind at the time.
Yeah, so it's a matter of knowing where people are coming from and making sure you connect with them there.
Yeah, and especially right now with where we're at as a brand and trying to grow that audience, and we have new projects coming out next year. We I would love to have conventions right now, because I know that we'd be much further along, but we're making do with what we can do now and where we're at in the world. So hopefully we just keep chugging along and keep building the audience slowly but surely.
So you didn't go to a New York Comic-Con online?
No, dude. No, I would have loved to. That'd have been awesome. I was at home watching.
Yeah, I watched some of it. it's like I watched all the spotlights I wanted to watch.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
But yeah, it's not the same world, and you gotta make do until hopefully we get back to some normalcy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, it's challenging to be a independent comic creator. I mean, why did you personally want to venture into this? What sparked your imagination and creativity back in the
Oh,
day?
I'm for myself, I'm a storyteller. So I've always wanted to tell stories. When I was younger, it was art. I swear I was going to draw comics for a living. As soon as I saw, I want to say it was Spawn 31 or 32, where he gets the brand new suit. Just that cover that Capullo did, and then the big double page spread on the inside. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. Little did I know I was never going to be as good as Capullo, but I was striving for that. And so I was always drawing stuff. I remember sitting in, like, my parents would go to the grocery store when I was like 11 and 12, and I would pull my desk out into the living room, and I used to tape on VHS tapes the old X-Men cartoon, and
Right.
I would play it back, and I would pause it, and I would just draw what was ever on the TV screen and try to make comic books that way. So I learned a lot about storyboarding there, but it was always going to be comics. For a while, I wanted to get into film directing, and that got shut down pretty quick. That never happens to a young boy from the Midwest, or so I thought. So it was just always comics. I was always writing, always jotting down ideas. And then a few years ago, I want to say, me and my fiance, we were just going to C2E2 in Chicago, and every year we would go, I would walk down Artist Alley, and I'm just like, what, I should be on the other side of this table. I should be over there. And every year she's like, well, just do it. Just do it. Like, stop talking about it and do it. And after, I want to say 3 or 4 years of that, I finally just said, screw it, I'm going to do it. And that's where, like, Rumble Kings has been a story in the making, like, my entire life. It's everything that I've ever wanted to do jumbled together. And I decided, all right, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to actually make a go of this. And I did. And it turned out really well. And then just so happened Kickstarter, I discovered Kickstarter about that time. So it's kind of like all the pieces fell together, and it just, boom, took off from there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I made a comic book, and then I made another comic book. And then I started getting interest from other people. And I was like, man, like, I want to make another comic book. So like, we're 3 issues deep into Rumble Kings. I have 3 other comic books that are actually signed to various publishers that are just being held up by business right now. So those will be coming out very soon. And then just I kind of accidentally fell into being a businessman now, and creating a brand, and teamed up with the right people and decided, you know what, let's just try to do this. So hopefully some good comes of it.
I think that's the way to go. I mean, to get your own IP out there, it's still good to spread your wings and like yourself and work for other people, because you grab a little of everybody's audience along the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm an Image kid. I grew up with the original 7 guys, and then watching the new Image titles. I've seen the pattern. I've seen the cool hip indie guys who go to the big 2, make a name for themselves, and then bounce and go do their creator-owned stuff and take that audience with them. So I understand the need to work with other people and to grow your audience and to get noticed by other people. But at the end of the day, it should be, in my opinion, creator owned. All of my favorite creators, my favorite works of theirs is their indie stuff. So that's where I'm at now. I like I said, I have a few projects sitting at publishers now that I'm very excited for, but eventually the goal for me is to be 100% creator owned down the line.
Right. So is is your team with Skeletal Press the team you work with on your book, or is it more than that, or is it other people?
So for me, Skeletal Press was my brand. It was wherever you see, Skullboy waving the flag, that's Ryan Cummins. That's my work. If you see that, you're going to have quality work from me. And when I can't go too far into the business side of it because we haven't announced anything yet, but I did have to bring in some other people because we're going to be doing, it's going to go from like a personal brand to an actual comic, I don't want to say company, but imprint very soon. So my good friend Jason Webb came in to help with the business side of things, and he's been killing it, crushing it. And then, hey, Jason.
Nice.
Yeah, and we have a few other people they're going to be coming in shortly as well. And then hopefully we just push everything that I create to the masses, and it's accepted, and we just blow up and take over Hollywood with it.
There you go. Well, that's exciting. Yeah, you don't have to divulge anything you're not ready to. But yeah, it's like anybody who knows me, I have a Facebook group, creator owned, and Jason's a moderator on that. Mostly I just chat with him every once in a while. But he's a great guy, and he seems super busy lately. And all the power to him. But that's awesome. Like, how, I'm curious, how did you then find the team of your book? Like your artist, your colorist, even your editor.
Oh, so for Rumble Kings, it was I didn't know who I wanted to draw the book. I had no idea how to find an artist. I've been a member on a website called DeviantArt for years, just staring at people's artwork like, man, I would love to work with these people. And I ended up finding, for issue 1, I ended up finding a guy called named William Allen Reyes, who did beautiful work. It was very reminiscent of early Image Comics titles, and I knew I wanted something like that. And so I had originally reached out to him to do character designs because I'd planned on pushing it to a different artist or something else. I hadn't really decided yet, but I just went to him for character designs, and he knocked them out of the park. Seeing him do several different designs for each character. Some of the characters he nailed right away. Arlo, the mage of our group, I want to say the first design he did was the one he's at now. I think we just added the coat. But the rest of them, seeing him go through the different styles was amazing. And we were talking a little bit about like the look of the book, where it was going to go. My favorite superhero comic of all time is Invincible by Robert Kirkman. I'm a huge Ryan Otley fan. And so I had told him early on, I'm like, I want to try to strike a mix between Invincible and my other favorite book, Hellboy. It's the way they do shading and the bright colors. And he's like, why don't you just let me draw the book? And I was like, well, do you think you can do this? And he's like, of course I can do that. So he turned in a couple pages and just blew me away. I was like, this is exactly what I want. Like, I didn't know how to put it in words before, but like, this is exactly what I wanted. And we just ran with it. We did that first, I think we did a first 9-page like opening scene prequel issue or comic. Spread that around. People loved it. Dove right in with issue 1 and took off from there. As far as my colorist, I found him same way, DeviantArt, DC Alonso. He did, I want to say it was a Batman piece, and just the textures he used were insane. And I was like, I need that. I want that. And he came on board. I hadn't seen much of his work. I'm not sure how much he was out there other than just doing like fan work, but he's blowing up like crazy right now. And then the first book, I didn't even have an editor because at that point I didn't think I needed an editor. I'm like, I'm a good enough writer. I don't need an editor. I needed an editor. Every writer needs an editor. I completely 180'd that stance. No matter how good I think I am, like, no, I needed an editor. And that proves there were a few mistakes I made, in issue 1. And I chose to leave them in the book. They're going to be collector's issues. So at some point I'll correct them, and all the errors will be worth big money one day, hopefully. But
well, there's more to editing than just like looking over the script. I mean, you're basically putting a whole book together. So is that something you did with issue 1 alone, and learned that it was too much for you to tackle, or how did that go?
So I do everything. When I was in school, like I said before, I wanted to get into film direction for a while. I studied storyboarding, and I'm really big on pacing. So putting the book together, I did it myself. I'm very confident in how I pace. My biggest thing is language and grammar. I'm a 90s kid who grew up on heavy metal and hip hop. So I speak with a broken slang most of the time. And I tend to put that into my books. Like, I write the way I think people should talk, and that's not how writing is at all. So for me, the biggest thing was the grammar and the language. Other than that, I feel very confident about putting a book together. So much, in fact, that when I write the books out, or my scripts out now, I usually don't even send them to the editor until we already have art going. And so far, it's worked out very well. I get a lot of praise for my pacing and the way I plot the series. But mostly it's just the language that I have problems with. But as far as putting a book together, I do all that myself. The design work, I did it all. I think going forward with other books, I might bring somebody else in for design. But for Rumble Kings, I'll probably just stay with, because that's my baby. So
yeah. Well, from my experience, like, I know what I like, and I, maybe, I didn't take schooling, but I've learned a lot in the industry. I've been here quite some time. Yeah. Even though I've been focused on mostly inking, it's like I've read thousands of comics, literally. So it's like I know what I hate. I know what I hate too. So, but even just sort of, breaking the ice of ultimately what I want to do, it's like it's a lot more work day to day than I really want to deal with. Dealing with the colorist and this is what I want it to look like, and okay, then they'll do it, and okay, could you change these couple things, and it's a whole back and forth that I don't really want to be a part of. So it's like I want to get more and more people involved as I go. It's definitely a lot.
That's the artist in you too, and me as well. I would love nothing more than just to wake up, grab my coffee, go get the laptop, write my script, and then go about my day. Having to run the entire thing is something I wasn't prepared for, but I've adapted, and I'm found myself more than capable. But the days of just getting up and going to the artboard and scribbling away for 10, 12 hours and then going about your day, those days are long gone, especially at our level.
So let's talk about the book itself. What's your elevator pitch? Why should people pick up your book as opposed to the millions other books out there?
It's fun. Hopefully people think it's fun. I think it's fun. The elevator pitch, to me, the simplest way I can put it is it's a sci-fi fantasy mashup, akin to the A-Team stuck in Middle Earth is the best way I could put it. Follows a group of mercenaries who just get in way over their head all the time. They're not badass heroes. They're not, as much as they act like they are. They're pretty much just regular guys who go out and do mercenary contracts, monster hunt, things of that nature, and just keep getting into trouble. And every time they think they're out of trouble, they just get into more trouble. And it just goes from there. My thing is I want it to be fun, and I wanted to have a great level of rereadability. Nothing makes me happier than when I read a book and I love it. I'm like, man, that's so cool, and I want to read it again. Or if I'm just lounging around and I want to read a comic, I want to go read that book, and I wanted that for somebody else with my work. Basically, just to read a book that felt like you were watching an animated series. And I think we captured that really well.
Cool. There's definitely a lot of things I like about that.
I actually had a guy, we were at a convention, and a guy looked at the cover and he said, "There's a guy with a big ass axe, I'm in." And he bought it sight unseen just for that. He's like, you got me with that. Didn't know what it was about. Didn't want to hear the elevator pitch, nothing. He's like, just give me that. So, I mean, there's a little something there for everybody. I tried to mix everything I love together. Big 90s over the top action, like cool character designs. It's a summer blockbuster movie is the way I pitch it to people. There's some heart, there's some sad parts in there, but there's also a lot of fun, a lot of humor, a lot of action. Again, it's just like watching a movie or watching an animated series. Just fun. Just wanted this book to be fun.
Right. Well, just a sidetrack, since you're like invincible and you watch some of the New York stuff, did you happen to catch the preview of the animated series?
Of course I did. Dude, I'm so excited for that. I was a little worried. I didn't know where they were going to go with it. I was like, oh, is it going to be like a toned down kind of version? And then I saw Mark knock that dude out and just blood flew everywhere. And I was like, nope, This is going to be good. This is going to be really good. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I'm in today's world, there's a lot of animation that isn't so great, and I'm perfectly happy with the way they're animating it, and it looks pretty sweet.
Well, and it looks just like Corey's work. Like, as soon as I saw those character designs, I'm like, holy crap. And then I found out that they brought him in to do character design work for the series. So
that's awesome.
That's the coolest thing. I love when they reach back to the creators like that.
Yeah. And the voice cast is phenomenal.
What is that? The greatest voice cast in animated history? It has to be. Holy cow. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see stuff like that. So maybe like potentially we'll see more of that. It's like not enough comic properties get justice in other media. Yeah.
One that I really like the Young Justice. I know it's different. It's more of an original take on those characters, but it's just so good. The animation, the story, the heart, like that's a great series. So when I pitch Rumble Kings to people, that's usually what I say. I'm like, hey, if you've seen this, you'll more than likely like my book. And even if not, I tried.
So, not me really, but like there's people out there that like worry, like, should I show my kid this? Like, if you had to put an age to your comic, you ever thought about that?
Yeah. How do I say this? It's not adult only. Not at all. There's not very much blood. I think there's maybe 2 swear words in the whole thing. It's how do I say this? It's no different than if you just went and picked up like a Superman or a Captain America book. Like I have a 4-year-old boy, can't read the book yet, but he loves the pictures. There's nothing in there that's gonna be like, hey, you can't watch this or you can't see this. I mean, there's a fantasy character that gets beheaded. I mean, I don't know what your stance on beheadings are. as a parent, but yeah, there's definitely nothing that's gonna make you freak out if you caught your kid reading it under the covers at night.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have kids myself, but I know plenty of parents, and they're nowhere near as strict as like my parents, like me growing up.
Yeah.
And and they would, my parents were pretty cool about like any comics we picked up. They would totally like, take. My dad used to take us to conventions and stuff. So they wouldn't like go book by book. Oh, he shouldn't be reading this or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
and
my parents
we had
just thought that
heavy metal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember getting my first heavy metal. It was at a comic shop, and it was like my parents just thought comics were dumb stuff for kids. They had no idea. They weren't comic readers. And I picked up that first heavy metal, and I was like, oh my god, like that went right under the mattress. like you guys aren't stealing that.
Yeah.
So yeah. I would say my book, why 7 maybe. I don't know. I don't know if kids under that age are really into this kind of stuff.
Right.
But saying that, if you don't care what your kids read, come check out Rumble Kings. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
I'm actually, my next project is actually an adult only book. I think my next 2, I believe. Yeah, it's definitely not for kids. It's not gratuitous or anything, but it's definitely not for kids. So we're gonna test that theory out too. So
yeah, you gotta stretch as a creator. So.
Yeah, I'm a huge Garth Ennis fan. He's one of probably my top 3 favorite writers, maybe top 2 favorite writers of all time. And I was like, this project that I was working on, I was like, you know what? I just want to see how far I can push it. And the more I was working on it, the more I was writing it, is like, I can't go that far. Like, I'm not comfortable going Garth Ennis far. So I reined it back in. It's still adult, but it's not Garth Ennis far. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, he's great, and obviously, man, I only back in the day I only read the first trade to Preacher.
Oh yeah.
But that got me into watching the show, and I watched the whole show, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy nuts. And I'm an adult now, and I'm a different person. Like when I picked up that original trade, it's like I read it, I enjoyed it, but I was like, this is too dark for my soul. But when the TV series came around, I was just right. And
yep. Well, even like right now with The Boys, I have some friends that I work with that are really into The Boys TV show. And they're like, man, it's so dark, it's so twisted. I'm like, you have no idea. Like, this is toned way down from the books. Like, this dude is nuts. So, and the same thing with Preacher. When I was watching Preacher, I'm like, this is really good. It doesn't hold a candle to the books. Like, just, I don't think you could go as far as the books in television and it work. I think people would just turn that stuff off.
I might have to go back one day and read the original works.
Oh, they're so good. I have all the volumes of Preacher on my desk right now, or on my bookshelf. His entire Punisher Max run, I have all of that. Like, I love Garth Ennis. And I think it was, I fell in love with him at that rebellious teenage stage. Like, there's nothing like this. I just gravitated to it. And but his Punisher Max run just pushed me. Like, my archetype is the brooding vigilante guy. I don't know. Like, it hit all the right notes for me.
A friend of mine, created this book called Penance, and back in, I guess it was 2000, we did a launch party, and this is before real internet and whatnot. So we did it at an Irish pub, and Garth was there, so it was like
nice.
pretty cool. Yeah, awesome. There's a bunch of people, basically my brother and Amanda showed up, and they brought Garth, and as long as there's beer around, he was happy to be there. So,
Yeah, right.
but it was like, this is like, it was a lot of fun. It was a little surreal, and we were like, we even had T-shirts and I don't know, like thongs for women. It was pretty wild, but
Right. Oh,
promotional material and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that.
Yeah. Have you done any events for your your books?
Other than just
other than going to cons, yeah.
no, not yet, and definitely nothing that involved thongs. We'll have to work that one out. Yeah, just this whole pandemic thing hit like right at a crucial time for me. Where it's like, okay, we're about to make the jump from beginner creator indie level to try to like hit that next level, and
Right.
I think COVID came out of nowhere, and it's like, crap. Okay, well now I got to do all that from home. So I would love to do a big event for one of our books and give away women's underwear. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get there.
Right.
It'd be good to go with your adult comic book and whatnot.
I'm gonna tell everybody it was your idea as well. Like Peter told me to sign thongs and give out with every comic book. We'll see what that does.
I was just thinking something. Just like social media wise, how active are you? Where could people check out where you're highly active, or is it just another way to reach out to people?
No, I'm getting better at being active on social media. I personally hate social media. Like just it's a disgusting sandbox, but it's a tool. So I need to use it, and it's frustrating. But no, I'm trying to be way more active on it. My 13-year-old daughter is trying to teach me Instagram because I'm an old man who doesn't know things.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, dude, it's horrible. Like, why does this picture keep cropping and I can't tag people and what's a hashtag? So I'm trying to do more with that. Twitter, I'm trying to be a lot more active on, and then mostly it's just Facebook. And really, it's only Facebook because I'm on it all the time. That's how I talk to most of the people through Messenger and things like that. It's like Rumble Kings on Kickstarter and at Skeletal Press on all social media. It's where people can find me. Find me on Instagram. Explain it to me. I would appreciate it. But yeah, really. And right now, and with everything that's going on, and you have to do all of your stuff through social media because there's no conventions and things like that. It's me coming out of my shell and being like, all right, I have to do this. My brand depends on me getting out there and mastering this stuff. So if I had my way, I would just pop out and say, hey, here's my book. Like I'd sell 1 million copies and I would go hide till the next book comes out. That's the dream. But until that day happens, I'll be hammering away on Facebook and others.
Yep. This is somebody in the chat. Stinch. Ryan Cummins, the Pro is what sold me on, and that's for me.
Oh, the Pro. Oh my God. Here's hoping that gets turned into a television series. Holy cow.
Oh man, they did an animated cartoon, and for those that don't know, the Pro was Garth Ennis and this other guy. Some people might know, Jimmy Palmiotti, who is my brother. And it was made into a cartoon. There's like somewhere on YouTube, if you search the Pro, Garth Ennis, Jimmy Palmiotti, you'll find a cartoon of it. And I think Garth might have been inspired by his own work because like the boys is like the continuation of the pro in some ways.
Yeah.
But the cartoon is pretty funny, and
Yeah.
you should go check it out. You know, with
That is a project where you should be giving away free panties. I'm just saying.
yeah.
Like,
that a baby vomited on, but that,
yeah. My fiance and I were at a convention, and I was like, we were digging through the boxes, and I'm like, anything by Garth Ennis, pull out. And she was digging, and she pulled out the pro, and she's like, "Is this what you want?" And I was like, "Yes, give me that." She just doesn't understand. She's more of a like, she likes Neil Gaiman and, like, the classier guys, and I'm
right.
just in the gutter over here reading stuff like the Pro and the Boys all the time.
Well, Neil Gaiman's great too in his own way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love him. He's a genius. I don't think I'm sophisticated enough for him. Like, I'm just not intelligent enough.
So, what are you stoked about currently? Like, what books or movies or comics or anything out there happening?
Let's see. For for books, my favorite thing, one of my favorite novels is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and I'm finishing that series. I've read the first book a few times, and I've never read the other two, so I'm reading that right now. But I just found out Frank Miller's young adult novel, Cursed, was a thing. I didn't know that was a thing, so I bought that, and I'm waiting to read that right now.
Oh, I didn't hear about that, so.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a Netflix series, and I'm like, oh, it's a teenage thing, blah blah blah. That's not for me. I was wrong, I guess. It's TV mature, so I'm checking that out right now. But I found it was based on a novel. I looked it up, and Frank Miller did an illustrated novel, and it's gorgeous. So I'm fighting to hurry up and get through the Millennium Trilogy book so I can read that one, because I love Frank Miller. He's one of my favorite creators.
Yeah.
So that'll be coming. That's on the list to get done. Let's see. What am I reading for comics? The new Juggernaut I really like. I really enjoy. I'm loving Donny Cates' Thor run. I've quietly become a huge Donny Cates fan. I didn't realize it. I'm like, man, Venom is awesome. Oh, Absolute Carnage is awesome. Thor is awesome. Cosmic Ghost Rider is awesome. I'm like, I think I love Donny Cates.
Yeah.
I follow him on social media, and I was like, yep, I think I like him enough to listen to his podcast anyway. Yeah.
What's he do a podcast about?
Oh, him and Ryan Stegman. Well, I guess it's really Ryan's podcast. I mean, Donnie has one with his wife, I believe. I haven't listened to it yet, but him and Ryan do one where they just break down. They talk to industry people, but they also break down issues of Venom, issues of Absolute Carnage. I just listened to an episode where I believe they're making a brand new comic, and they're doing it together, like live on their podcast.
Yeah, cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, he has one with his wife where they just talk about books they love. I haven't read it yet or listened to it yet. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure what else. Just finished The Boys on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
About it. Yeah. Yeah. Really not. What am I looking forward to? There's one other thing that I can't wait to come out, and I can't remember what it is. Shoot. Well,
I'm sure it will come to you.
Yeah, it'll come to me like in an hour or two.
For me, it's like I'm bad at reading anything currently, and I try to keep pushing myself, but like I'm all over the place creatively and working with other people, and it's like I just have zero concentration. So like movies and TV are easy, and I watch too much of that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's weird how I
But
could binge like several series and watch movies all day long, but as soon as I crack a book or pick up a comic book, it's like boom, snooze city, and I'm out. It's crazy.
yeah. Well,
You know?
it's that they got us. They made us addicted to it.
Yep.
Um,
I still buy them all. Like I've got
yeah,
stacks of comics. It just the time to read them is fleeting.
yeah. Well, like back when I've worked briefly, whatever, for DC and Marvel, um, and I worked for a little bit for Valiant back in the day. Had some stuff out through Image. I used to get a lot of free boxes, just like
Yeah.
delivered to my house, and I read thousands of comics a month. So
Yeah, I bet.
it's like I think I consumed enough for the average person.
Right.
But it's like once, I'm setting out to build sort of what you're building. It's like I just want my own little publishing company.
Yep.
Where I could put out my own books. I'll still continue to work with other people here and there, but if that could finance my existence, that would make my life.
Yeah, that's the goal, man. I'd love to have my books in a stack of books that people bought and just haven't read yet. I mean, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, there we go. So what is that you're working on?
This is retro. This is I'm going to be building my own sort of superhero, except they're called metahumans, universe. And Retro was a character I actually created in my late teens. Back then it was just like a name and an outfit. But essentially, he's the first of 7 characters, and eventually, I'll put out 7 different books. Then I'll put out a team book, and
Nice.
And Retro it's a lot of what I loved growing up. I read a lot of more Marvel than anything else.
Yeah.
So for him, like Captain America and Daredevil, a little bit Spider-Man, a little bit, like influence is from everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's like I love the comics from back then, and the characters. They were more, the heroes were heroes and the villains were villains.
Yep.
And for the first issue, a friend of mine penciled it, Rich Fuchsia. But he's gone on to painting and whatnot, so I'll be taking over everything with the second issue,
Wow.
which I'm excited about. It won't look as good as the first issue, but I'll get there. But yeah, just really excited to work with a lot of my friends. It's like I move forward with essentially like the next 2 books, but I just the back and forth with artists and sort of creating the characters and building on them as we go. And as I talk with the artists, I sort of come up with new ideas because of what interests them and stuff like that. So yeah, it may take me a while to get there. I don't care. I just want to create my own characters and sort of my own little universe to play with, and it's exciting. It's it
So
fills
I have a
my
question for you
days.
then. What made you want to go with the superhero route? And what do you think about the superhero fatigue that's going on right now?
It doesn't exist. No.
I hear about that all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
that that it is what it is. It's like, um, all I'm concerned about is having enough of an audience, and I think there's
Yeah.
enough of an audience for my book to live out there.
Yeah.
Because they say the same thing about zombies, and yet there's more and more zombies movies and TV shows coming
Yeah.
out. So it's like, yeah, you could say that about anything. You could say that, like, well, westerns have faded away again, but in 3 years one will pop up and everybody will be like, oh, in
Yep.
shock and awe.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, like, much like Robert Kirkman with The Walking Dead, in his comic. He's like, it's about the characters. It's not about zombies.
Yep.
It's about the
Yep.
characters. And that's how I look at it with, it's like, yes, superheroes is the facade, the,
Yep.
the covering to it. But, at the end of the day, it's about who is this guy, and what are the people in his world, and how does he act and react to things happening, and that will make it for me. Like, I wouldn't be into Captain America if I didn't give a shit about Steve Rogers.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And that's I've heard that the past week. I've heard it several times. There was a lot of buzz about Rumble Kings 3 when it was going to launch. You're going to do amazing. It's going to blow the doors down. It's going to be big and huge, and it's trucking along, And I've had a few people come out and tell me, well, it's too much like a superhero book, and people are sick of superheroes. I'm like, I keep hearing that people are sick of superheroes, but one of the highest rated TV shows right now has to do with superheroes. Marvel knocks it out of the park all the time. I'm like, to me, I understand, I think it's the casual fans that get sick of it. But
Yeah.
again, to your point, it's the story. Like you said, everybody has done zombies before. Robert Kirkman came out. There's nothing really new when he came out. It's just the way he told the story. It's the characters. So
Yeah.
I honestly don't believe in superhero fatigue, but I guess enough people out there do. I don't know. It's weird. I keep seeing online, like, people need to do original ideas and stop trying to do superhero stories. It's all been done. I agree. It's all been done, but you got to find a new way to do it, or do it in an interesting way,
Yeah. I mean, what's something, let me see. I don't really know. I mean, I could do a story about a New York stockbroker. But why don't people go see that Michael Douglas movie instead?
Yeah, right.
I take people's opinions with a grain of salt, because I understand. I'm really good. Like, I'm really good in a crowd because I could bounce off of what people are talking about.
Yep.
That's like a mutant skill of mine,
Yep.
rather than just like, if I'm on stage alone and a whole crowd shows up, I'll like freeze or just can't think of anything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like, I think a lot of people just say what's at the top of their mind. Like, maybe that day they saw 5 superhero comics and people are sick of them. It has nothing to do with anything. It's not based on actual data facts or,
Yeah.
it's just their, it's just a freaking opinion.
Yep. Or maybe that person just isn't into superhero books. There's plenty of people who grew up on superhero books and then graduated to other things,
Yeah.
I mean, like, again, we'll take Garth Ennis. He's writing a World War II sniper book. Nothing with superheroes, and it's still amazing. It's just personal preference, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could say, isn't there enough World War II comics
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or stories,
Yep.
and there is, because didn't that end a while back?
Yeah, but look at it, like
Yeah,
like you said, it goes in phases, it goes in cycles. Somebody will come out
yeah,
and they'll put out a really good book in a certain genre, and then a whole bunch of subpar books will come out, water it down, then it'll fade away for a while, and then boom, here comes another good one. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah. It's just a matter of doing a good job in whatever
yeah,
genre you're in.
yeah,
It's like that genre itself is like, it's a label. Like, to me, okay, to me, um, all the superhero comics I grew up on were sci-fi, they were fantasy, they were
yeah,
horror, they were westerns, they were everything else, you know, and all of it, romance, and
yep,
and
yep.
and they were
Well,
about family, and they were about friendships, and they were about
my thing too is something that I learned that I've gotten some praise for is um, you'll see it in my upcoming books more, but it's where I mix two genres, and or I try to take a genre and an archetype that don't normally go together and try to flip it on its head, just to try to do something new with it. Because even myself, I have a superhero book that's coming out next year, and it's at first glance you're like, oh, it's another superhero book, and then when you read it, it flips it on its head. So hopefully it does a good job. But again, it just comes down to, are you going to copy what has come before? Or are you going to try and reinvent it or subvert the ideas and do something fresh with it?
yeah. Well,
So
I'm just copying what has come before. Like, there, there are plenty of comics with people in it. It's like I'm
yep,
writing about people. You know,
yep,
and they live on the planet Earth. I'm writing about planet Earth. That's been done
yep.
before. It's like
We'll see you
you.
flip it on its head, and like down the road, you find out, oh my God, they're all starfish, like from another planet. You can do whatever you want with it. I would read that book. Saying.
Starfish of Earth,
Who happen to be superheroes. There you go.
who happen to be superheroes. It can happen. That could be your next big hit.
There you go. Billion
Yeah,
dollar franchise right there.
I'm not. Thus far, I'm not. Swayed from what I want to do at all.
Well, and that's the other
Uh,
thing. At the end of the day, you've got to have faith in yourself and the story you're telling. Whether it's
yeah,
been something that's, if it's a trope or if it's a story that's been done a million times, as long as you're true to that story and true to yourself in telling that story, it's going to be good.
yeah.
Whether it finds a giant audience or a small audience, as long as the story is good to you and you're true to it, then that's all that matters.
I know. I've heard plenty of times where creators creators always point out um, their masterpieces that they've never worked on after the
Yeah.
fact of somebody else's success.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes that may be true, but it's like, I rather talk about the success of something I've created that actually exists. You
Yeah.
know?
Yep. My favorite thing is when a creator creates something that maybe they're not the proudest of, or maybe they don't think is their best work, but that's the work that blows up, and that's what they're known for and they're popular for. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that silly little comic I did became a movie franchise, but what I really like is my this over here, this prose novel that nobody's read. This is my masterpiece. And they just hate on their popular work. Like I've seen that a few times, and I'm just like, dude, ride that wave, man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to be grateful. Like, you can't, you can't predict reaction from
Yeah.
thousands of people. It's like,
Yep.
you'll always have a personal favorite of your own work, or other people's work,
Yeah.
for that matter. But what fans love is what fans love.
Yep.
Um, I remember I was very, very happy with my first work at DC Comics, and I inked a book over Jim Fury that was Aquaman that Peter David wrote, and
Nice.
I sweated every panel, every page, and the whole book, and I took the full month to work on it, and I remember after the book was published and out there, and I was at a con, like one of your typical comic geeks came up to me and started going into a whole triad about Green Lantern, because it was Kyle Rayner in the book. It wasn't the original Hal, whatever. But it's like I didn't care. It was Green Lantern. I was like,
of course.
Not only my first issue of Aquaman, but Green Lantern's in it too. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
But he went into, this is what I think about Kyle Rayner, and it just,
Jeez,
it's like,
man.
That's great. I have nothing to say other than I liked him being in the comic. If you want to talk about your history of the character, then I'm sure you can find some other friends around at the con to talk.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That reminds me of my very first convention I did. A young man walks up to my booth and he was like, "Hey, this is your book. Why don't you tell me about your book?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm running him through the elevator pitch, and he goes, "Let me tell you what my problem is with Superman." And I had to stand there for 10 minutes and listen to this rant about what he hates about Superman and why he's a garbage character. And the guy just walked off, like in the middle of a sentence, just kind of like turned, lost interest, and just walked away. And I was like, what just happened? Like, geez, I like Superman. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful nowadays there's places like Facebook and forums around, and where people can talk about comics and yada yada yada. Anyway, like
scream their opinions at you.
Yeah, if that's what interests you, then go for it. Talk about it with people who want to hear it. I'm not dissing a fan. I'm more like, he started geeking out about something that really had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I just started internally laughing.
Those guys trip me out.
But I mean, there's a space for everything, and definitely that's why conventions were invented for that purpose. But you can also do it online now, and there's plenty of people who want to talk about who's stronger, the Hulk or Batman. I don't know.
Just random. Yeah.
Howard the Duck or So Stinch in the chat has a bunch of comments. Let's go over them. As cynical as the amount of exposure. When it becomes overexposed, it stays in the industry, and then the public consciousness, general opinion. Those work of titans just happen to garner interests. This is probably more along the lines of what we were talking about before. Originally, it's just putting two unoriginal things together to make something new. Originality, yeah. This in regards to artwork, the old masters used to paint portraits from people sitting in front of them. Throughout the years, artists in more now generations have been bashed because they use reference. It's like it's all your opinion. Plenty of artists use reference, and frankly, you're not making up anything. Even if you think you're original, you're not. There's nothing original.
Well, I remember the first time I found out that Jim Lee had somebody do backgrounds, because I just fawned over his work. I'm like, how does he get all this detail in and still manage to get these books out? And then I found out he had somebody doing backgrounds for him, and it just blew my mind. I was like, really? And then I found out, like, with Marvel, they built a 3D New York, and artists use that for their background to trace over it. And on one hand, I'm like, oh my God, I've been lied to my whole life. And then on the other hand, I'm like, that's genius. That's genius. Why are more people doing that?
Yeah, I know, like, when this is years ago, I guess, essentially the same thing, I guess, with Marvel is like DC built a real futuristic metropolis and a real gothic looking Gotham.
Yep.
And had their artists follow it closely for whatever event storyline that was happening with Superman and Batman at the time. I forget, but yeah, it was like, wow, this is really intricate, and like, artists could use it to a T, or just generally, like, oh, like, this building is important to this story, so I should actually know what it looks like and what's in there.
Yeah, that trips me out that they never did that for the Batcave. It became a running gag for me for a while. Every time a new artist jumped on a Batman title, it was, how does their Batmobile look, and what are they going to change about the cave?
Yeah.
It seemed like every artist had their own design for the cave, and I'm like, as an iconic of a place as the Batcave, I would think that they would have a standard, this is what we're doing. But
yeah,
it's fun to see, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's why people, like, fans get excited for new teams, because then it's their, this is their take on the character. And years ago, Marvel and DC had more of a house style, and like, their main characters absolutely looked a certain way, and and they would be pissed off, like, you can't do Batman with short ears. He has long ears now. It's like, no, you got to keep it to the reference, and there's a place for both. I enjoy seeing an artist's interpretation. At the same time, I like the consistency.
Yeah, I was a huge. I'm a big Mark Millar fan, and I remember, like, I had all the Ultimates books, and I'm like, I love this. It's so awesome. It's so gritty. And then when Joe Mad came on for Ultimates 3, and he changed all the designs, I was crushed. I'm like, well, I wanted to see Joe Mad do that. And Joe came in and was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing this thing. But I loved it because it was Joe Mad. But on the other hand, I was like, man, I want to see, his take on that style. But I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking forward to that too, but then it was just like colors over pencils, like, that looks like crap. Okay.
Yeah. There's a place for that, but
yeah. But we've been going a long time.
Oh snap! Yeah.
If there's anything you want to get into that we haven't talked about, now's the
time. Nothing that I could think of. I mean, yeah, I can't think of anything right now. I mean, I'm sure I could sit and talk comics stuff with you forever, but I mean, it might get boring to the listeners.
Yeah. And we both got to get back to our workday. But yeah, definitely. Like, I put the link into the chat earlier. Let me see if I still have it pasted. Yeah, I'll put it into the chat again.
Yep.
Awesome. Definitely go check it out. Go check out all the different reward levels. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a retailer pledge level. If you're a retailer or know of one that you want to poke and tell them about the project, yeah, you got less than 20 days. What is it? 19 days, I think it said.
19 days to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
so
the big thing for me is I would love everybody to pledge to it and support it, but I understand that a lot of people can't. If you can't support it financially, please just share it. If if you look through it and you think it's cool and it's something that you like, chances are your friends or family will like it as well. Same thing with your local comic shop. Let them know, hey, here's a great project that's going on. We have great retailer options, free shipping for retailers as well. You get the books at cost, sell them for whatever you want. Go nuts. But yeah, big thing is if you can't financially support it, just share it. That's more important than you realize for us.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Go share it out. Share this video out. Give this video a like so everybody on the internet sees it.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, we want people to see
if
it.
you're not already subscribed, subscribe. Trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. And I actually was thinking of maybe doing a art giveaway for anybody. Like, there's plenty of people who join and chat my chats. But if you in my current series, which this is episode 54, if you have ever commented, I'm going to add up all the comments when I hit 1,000 subscribers, put everybody's name into a hat, and whoever I pick gets an original 11x17 drawing of Retro and whoever their favorite other character is.
Nice.
So, yeah, I thought of doing that. That would be fun. Still, like, a little less than 200 away, but it could happen. It could happen soon this year.
It'll happen.
Yes. But all right, everybody, I love you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out what Ryan is up to, and have a great and productive day. See you again next time. Take care, everyone.